Hello and welcome to Mangum News. I'm your host, Elijah Mangum. This week we'll be discussing Jeremy Renner injured in a snow plowing accident, Damar Hamlin collapsed during a football game, the fight to elect the Speaker of the House, the beginning of the Mississippi 2023 legislative session, my weekly weather report, and my exclusive interview with WLBT Weekend Anchor and reporter Brendan Hall. Without further ado, let's begin. Marvel star Jeremy Renner was put in critical but stable condition after a snow plowing accident on Sunday. Jeremy Renner underwent multiple surgeries after suffering blunt chest trauma and orthopedic injuries that he is currently recovering from. According to the Washoe County Police Department in Nevada, Renner was trying to help a family member stuck in the snow before being run over by a large piece of snow removal equipment. Renner's neighbor reportedly saved his life. During Sunday night's NFL football game against the Buffalo Bills and the Cincinnati Bengals, Bills Safety Damar Hamlin collapsed on the field after tackling Bengal T. Higgins. This was the result of cardiac arrest that placed the player in critical condition. On Thursday, Hamlin began to gain consciousness and is beginning to make progress in his recovery. According to the NFL, the Bengals-Bills game will not resume.
Congratulations. You are now members of the 118th Congress.
Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy swore in the 118th United States Congress early Saturday morning, including Mississippi's newest Congressman, Mikey Zell of the 4th Congressional District. This comes after a multi-day battle to elect the Speaker of the House. Speaker McCarthy won his speakership on the 15th ballot, winning over just enough votes from the members of the Freedom Caucus who opposed him. This is the first time since 1923 there was more than one vote to elect a speaker. The Mississippi State Legislature convened for the 2023 legislative session on Tuesday. Courtney Ann Jackson of WLBT has the story.
2023 session of the Mississippi Legislature is now in session.
A new year, but some deja vu as leaders of both chambers are again talking income tax reform, saying it's possible because the state is bringing in more than anticipated. Hoseman is leaning into the idea of tax rebates rather than full elimination.
Necessarily opposed to some longer-term income tax relief. I like grocery tax relief as well. But we really have to absorb that by 2026 before we start anything else. Everybody from our state economist to anybody else you talk to says we're going into a recession.
Meanwhile, Speaker Philip Gunn.
I have been a champion for full elimination for over 2 years now. We did what we could do last year. We'll see how much more we can get this year.
Help for struggling hospitals is an issue that some members view not as an option, but as a must complete.
Healthcare is not Democrat, it's not Republican, it's not black or white. Healthcare, when you need healthcare, you're looking for healthcare.
And it seems this could be an item that gets support from both sides of the aisle.
We're going to be trying to look for ways maybe to help them. At a very minimum, maybe invest some of the surplus that we have into those hospitals in the short term while we look for opportunities to address the issues long term.
I think we're at a crisis mode here on the short term. but that shouldn't dictate our long-term solutions.
But all these discussions will happen amidst campaigning because it's an election year.
Shouldn't let the term election year slow us down in terms of addressing the critical needs of this state, because we have many we have to address.
Governor Tate Reeves filing his qualifying papers
2023.
to run for re-election just a block from the Capitol at the GOP headquarters.
Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann, Agricultural Commissioner Andy Gibson, and State Treasurer David McRae are among the state officials who also announced their re-election bids, along with many members of the Mississippi legislature. Sunday will have a 60% chance of rain with a high of 60 and a low of 40. Monday will have a 20% chance of rain with a high of 62 and a low of 44. Tuesday will have a 20% chance of rain with a high of 64 and a low of 44. Wednesday will have a high of 66 and a low of 48. Thursday will have a 50% chance of rain with a high of 66 and a low of 46. Friday will have a 40% chance of rain with a high of 58 and a low of 38. Saturday will have 58 for the high and 40 for the low. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about how you're enjoying your new position over the past month?
Yeah, so Weekend Anchor, it's been great. I mean, anchoring has always been a kind of the long-term goal for me, but I also have always kind of felt that the best anchors are also the best reporters. So that was kind of what I came into it when I came to WLBT and came to Jackson. I've just been kind of trying to get better and better at reporting, and I didn't expect the anchoring opportunity to come as quickly as it did. But the thing I really like about it is, with it only being Saturday and Sunday, I get the practice, I get the repetition of anchoring, but I still have Monday through Wednesday to continue to report and kind of master those skills as well. So it's kind of been a nice hybrid. So I've really been enjoying the position so far.
So Thursday through, you mentioned that you do reporting Monday through Wednesday. Is that typical of weekend reporters or anchors, that they have those are their days off versus the weekend? Or is it vary from person to person?
I think, with you having to work Friday and Saturday, really the only options if you're doing a 5-day week would be Wednesday through Sunday, or what I am, which is Saturday through Wednesday. So it's probably going to be one of those two, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And I definitely enjoy having Thursdays and Fridays off more versus a Monday, Tuesday off day.
Yeah, I've heard the other model too from some other reporters, and so it's usually one of the two, huh?
Yeah, if you're working both weekends, it'll typically be that. But I think when I started and I was reporting 5 days a week, I think at first I was maybe like Tuesday, Wednesday, and then it became Friday, Saturdays off. And so I've worked a bunch of different schedules, but this one's not too bad. I like starting my weekend, or my week rather, on Saturdays, because when I come in on Mondays, it's already my Wednesday. I'm already halfway through the week.
Yep. And so the next question is, can you describe sort of your education and your career so far leading up to this position?
Yeah, I mean, education really was everything for me. I didn't really know that I wanted to do broadcast until I took an internship. That was the summer off after my sophomore year with Fox 5 Atlanta. And I always was interested in journalism. I was a journalism major right off the bat. And mostly because of writing. That was kind of always my strong suit and skill in school. And so I took that internship and was curious how I could apply that to broadcast, and I just really loved it. And I went to University of Missouri, and they have a model of learning where you really are doing it. They have a TV station that's primarily made up of students, and you actually, if you want to be a reporter, you actually go out in the field and do stories and contribute to the newscast. And so they call it the Missouri method. It's really learning by actually doing it. And I think in a job like broadcast journalism, that's so huge. And I'm sure you found that. It sounds like you're already kind of learning by doing as well. So there's only so much you can learn in the classroom for this job. So education was very instrumental in where I'm at now.
And can you describe a little bit about what the day in the life of Brendan Hall looks like?
Yeah, I mean, I always like to, you know, kind of wake up and get my day started with doing something to, get my body going, whether it's going to the gym or stretching. And I love to cook. That's one of the things I love to do in my free time. Make some food and just kind of get my mind right for the day. So if I'm not working, that's kind of what I'm doing. Just stuff around my apartment and just relaxing when I can. And if I am working, there really is no typical day, which I kind of like. That's one of the things about reporting that I really enjoy is it keeps you on your toes. You're constantly learning, and no day is going to look the same as the previous day.
But can you kind of walk us through, like, when you're a reporter, what is kind of the format that as close as you can describe it?
So for the most part, I've been nightside, the 2 to 10 shift, but I also will work the day side, which is 9:30 to 6:30. I've kind of done both, but if I'm a nightside reporter, I'll usually wake up, spend about an hour or so looking for pitches for the week or for the day, and then I'll email those into my managers, and I'll get to the station around 2 o'clock for the editorial meeting, and everyone will kind of throw their ideas out there, and they'll either green light my original pitch or maybe they have something else in mind that they want me to work for. And then really from 2 to I'd say about 6 o'clock roughly, um, I'm news gathering. So get my interviews done, get all my video shot, um, write my scripts, plan out if I'm live or if I want to do like a stand up or something. Try to get everything back in house, sort of in that 4 hour window. Then when I get back at 6, that's when I start writing, and I usually like to give myself an hour is comfortable to edit a package, but there's definitely been times where I'll have to do it in more so like 20, 30 minutes. So it just depends on the day, what your story is, when it starts. But I would say that's like a perfect day. But you don't always get those.
And I've heard a lot about the pitching process. What do you how do you know about the stories that you want to pitch? Is there do you just start scrolling through events or personal things that might have popped up on social media, or what is sort of how do you get the ideas in motion?
A few different ways. Sometimes I'll just look at local newspapers like the Ledger or Dark Horse Press and see if they have sort of a web story that I think would make for good TV, and maybe trying to advance it or attack it from a different angle. Then as the weekend anchor, I'm reading the entire newscast. So sometimes I'll read a little short story or something else in another market. And I'm like, hey, maybe we can apply that here to Mississippi. Or I think there's a bigger story here. So I'll get ideas that way. Um, Social media. And then I just feel like as you get more and more comfortable with the market that you're in, like I feel like I'm relatively comfortable with the Jackson market now. I have a decent list of sources, and so sometimes I'll just kind of have ideas that just kind of come up. Hey, I'm interested in this. Let's make a story out of it. So sometimes it just comes from a newspaper. Sometimes it just is something I thought of, and I try to expand on it.
And what would be your day? Is there much difference between your day as a reporter and then as an anchor?
Yeah. So reporting, you're kind of doing it all. Anchoring, you're more so, your day is mostly consists of, reading through all the copy of the shows, of the newscasts, and kind of tweaking the wording based off how you like to talk, and kind of how you write. And then I'll check over the reporters scripts and approve those. And sometimes if I have a little downtime, I'll scroll through other other outlets, and maybe WLOX or DAM in Hattiesburg, and kind of see if they have anything that I think might work well in our newscast, and then maybe I'll pitch that to the producers. So anchoring, most of it happens behind the desk, of course, on the newscast, but also behind the desk when you're prepping for the show. Reporting, you're kind of all over the place.
Yeah, yeah. So are you going to be on, it being Saturday, are you going to be on tonight?
I will. I'm gonna head in shortly after this. I try and get there about 2.5, 3 hours before the first show. So today the first newscast will be at 6.
So when you bring up the editorial meetings, you being an anchor on the weekends, is that sort of a little bit different as far as you go?
So Saturday and Sundays we don't have an editorial meeting. The reporters typically send in their pitches for the weekend and try and have them set up by Friday, and then kind of get it going on Saturday or Sunday, depending on what day you work. And so we don't have a editorial meeting on the weekends because the majority of our staff isn't there.
Yeah. And 2 more questions.
You're good.
And what would be your advice to an aspiring journalist?
Yeah, my advice would just be to be curious. I know it sounds simple. That's the advice that I got the first day I stepped on foot at the University of Missouri on campus there, and just ask questions, be skeptical. If something doesn't look right, smell right, it probably isn't. So dig into it, and ask the right questions, not just in your interviews, but just in everyday life. If you notice something and it kind of piques your interest, ask about it and just be curious and look into it, and you never know when it'll uncover a pretty good story.
That's all we have for this week. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Thanks for watching, and we'll see y'all on Monday.